Thank you for coming here. So I brought something to eat. Help yourself. How long it lasts. There's Laugenweg, which you call. This is probably the most German bread. Normally formed in a pretzel form. I have it just as a roll. Then pumpernickel, which is in Germany a little bit more dense. I didn't try hard enough maybe to get a very dense bread, but I think that is more suitable for the Americans, for you. And sauerkraut, of course. And in the yellow bowl is German bratwurst, and in the green one is Italian sweet sauce, and the usual potato salad which I made. So help yourself. So it's approximately 34 years ago where I was in your seat in Berlin. And there was an announcement for a talk which called New England and New York. And I saw only New York. I was in the process, I have to say, I lived in Berlin, and in the process to go to United States. And for me, there was only one city, New York. And my girlfriend said, she came from Poland, and she said, well, there's New England. Her interest is New England. What is New England? I said, it doesn't matter. That's only on the side. So I came only for New York, and worst thing happened. There was no talk about New York. So I was flattened out. Nevertheless, and I never made it to New York, basically, but I'm happy here in New England. So I hope not that it happened with you, but the announcement was first for Germany. And since I'm here the second speaker, and AV gave the first one about New Zealand and Australia, so basically countries, why should I talk then about one city? Is this city so important? Yes, it is important, but nevertheless, I was announced as to talk about Germany. And I'm a German. I follow orders, so I prepared myself for Germany, not necessarily diving into Berlin. Nevertheless, you get today both. And to make it comfortable for you, I chose a virtual trip. I visit all of these places, or grow up, or live there, but make it a soft landing for you. I know that when you start to travel, you want to get fat, and so on one of my travel, I saw then this in New York. The flight went from New York. This cafe on the First Avenue, 42nd Street. Here you can get the last bread or cookies. But what they have, what you see, is pretzel. Not the same as in Germany, but at least the form is there. They made the form. When you think about Germany, I think, and then you think about castles, but a slightly different way, and that's a kind of newer pictures. This is just probably 1 week old. Where we went to Las Vegas, of course, and this might be your way of seeing a castle. So at least, which we can say is a part of fun. No, that's for sure. And when we have a small child with us, no, then we get it a little bit more realistic, and draw this the castle like this. And whatever you think of Germany, when I talk about the castle and to think about a castle, then it's this castle. From this castle, every fantasy, American fantasy, evolves. I have to say, as a German living 30 years in the country, I never visited the castle. But we made a really serious attempt last time. Figured out it's only online. You have to be online to get a ticket. $30 entrance fee, which is very high for German standards. And then we were too late. So there was a 1 week waiting delay, and so we never made it. So before I start, when you go to Europe, then you know that you will face history right away. And so I will do it also with you a little bit. Just first 3 slides. So its history will continue here a little bit. A very gross map about Germany, and we are speaking the year of 1618. So exactly almost the year when New England was populated, basically 1620. And what you see here is all the bright colors are still there, except the Ottoman Empire, Poland, France, Spain, but Germany is not seen. This is the Holy Roman Empire. But what I want to pay attention on my talk, and I forgot a little bit to mention that I'm maybe a young person, but I have a mind of 1866. What happened in 1866? There was a war between Bavaria and Prussia. Prussia came into finally into the game, the final game of Prussia. And Prussia, which you see here, is a yellow spot, upper right-hand side. And we will follow Prussia a little bit, and I have a Prussian mind, and I don't recognize Bavaria as a part of Germany. So just only in place. So the first castle which I showed you is not a part of Germany for me. But that's my mind, just only to get into the game here of it. And if you see a little bit the history, so that's visually the history of Germany, and you might know it, that Prussia is now the blue one. We have, so it gets extended to Brandenburg, so, and a little bit to the west, and then you see a lot of colors. And the biggest color is, of course, and the final enemy, Bavaria, which gets then. And here you see then it's not only a state, different states. This is already, Germany consisted in this 18th century of about 360 different states. And here you see the religious diversity about this part, conglomeration of land, which became later Germany. The blue ones, the Catholic ones, and then the red one is a more Protestantic way. And you can see already, this is a map of 1648, after the 30-year war, that Prussia already, or the Brandenburg went already more to the left. And then we have the final game. And that is basically the map which I have in my mind still about Germany, where Prussia takes over. And I was 50 years old when I recognized I was born in Prussia. And when I said in my title, it's a viewpoint of the West Germany. So not only West, but West Germany. So I didn't know that Cologne, for example, which we will travel through, is a part of Prussia. So the trip which I want to do with you is from Stuttgart, landing in Stuttgart, going to Heidelberg. This is approximately here, not mentioned here in it. Going to the Rhine Valley here, Bonn, Cologne, Düsseldorf, and then make a jump to Hamburg, and hopefully I will end up in Berlin. So this is our trip which we do tonight. But before we do it, why Stuttgart, and where is Stuttgart, and what is this about, and why do I chose it as a landing point?
BMW.
That's Munich, but it's a good guess. Very close. It's Mercedes, it's Porsche, Bosch, Miele, you name it. Maybe I forgot some. Yeah, I forgot definitely many of them. But you got it, whoever said this. Let's look to the GDP, so really numbers, and see how similar this country, the country Germany, the state Baden-Württemberg, and the city of Stuttgart is in compared to Boston. And it's striking. So I collected here a couple of boring or interesting, as this is the only table which I present you another table, but it's more interesting or more simpler. So I signed up here as population, US, Germany, of course, GDP in billion. That doesn't say this doesn't say anything because it's dependent on how many people live there. The GDP ranking is US number 1 and Germany number 3. So it's similar. Number 2 is China. No? So this is the newest IMF, International Money Funds statistic from 2024. And the GDP is interesting. Also, to visit a country, always to know what the GDP is and to see if they are rich or poor, what is your money value. It's almost similar. Germany has, let's say, 2/3 of the American thing. One suggestion is, I come at the end back to it, has something to do with the social service and taxation. Each country has to see somehow with taxation with it. So the state of Massachusetts and Baden-Württemberg is more striking similar. So we have here 7 million people, Baden-Württemberg 11, and it goes almost similar in both areas. And what is the growth? On the growth, I come back at the end of the talk when I talk about the modern Germany. We have here very strong growth in Massachusetts, 4.8. Perfect, great. And Germany, 1.4, but only for Baden-Württemberg. The growth in Germany total is sinking, so it's negative right now. Yeah, I think, it's not growing. The growth is not growing. Yeah, it's negative. And so density is also very striking. Baden-Württemberg is less populated as Massachusetts. And that's a striking number for me. Why is it similar? We think always Europe is more dense. And the reason is that we have farmland and we have city lands. And when you land on Germany, you can see very distinct between urban or town property, where residential property, and farmland. And everything is separated then. So you have then this similar density. So in the city, Boston, both are the capital of the state. Identical, almost identical population, GDP. I don't know. We make it right. Half of the GDP here in Massachusetts. Also, we have the big companies, very famous. And the density, that struck me. So the density of Boston is 5,400, and it's only metro-wise with matching with Stuttgart. The density of the urban Stuttgart is lower. So very interesting. It's the same effect what I said before. So enough of things didn't show up yet here on my screen, but I put it down because, yes, there's one similar thing, very interesting. And it is the biggest building project, federal building project in both cities. Boston, of course, the big dick. How many billions? 17. Stuttgart has the same. 10 billion are now on the table, and it's called Stuttgart 21. Sounds like the year 2021 when they wanted to be finished. No, we have 24 already, and it's not finished. So and it's cost us staggering. So they have the same problem. So you feel just home. The same problematic. Politician put this out. This was you can see the date, 1995, and it's still not finished. They plan it 25, 26. So, but the difference, this is a construction place, which I visit. So I'm fascinated by the architecture. So the problem is only different. And here begins the difference of the two cities. Big Dick was about cars. Here, Stuttgart 21 is about railroads. The city invests in railroads. What do they get? They get, of course, both cities get green area. In Boston, just establishing green area, while in Stuttgart, they create new green areas. So they put 16, you can see it's a head. So this is a railroad, it's the main railroad station in Stuttgart. With, it should be 16 lines, what I learned. And they reduce it to 8 lines, which get perpendicular to the existing railroad station. So they get all the land, which you see here, next to an existing land. So they get additional green space, but not enough. Oh, not enough is the, I have it here, upwards. So you see that the existing green space is a park, already existing park, and when you see the map, it turns into, on the left-hand side, on the left-hand side, they slightly grow. Oh, no, this I don't want. Not yet. Where's my mouse? Oh, here. So this light gray area is all railroads. Here you see an Rangierbahnhof, also a train station which are used for cargoes. And this gets all eliminated. And I can tell you this whole area gets used for residential area. So in front to the city, park, and then beyond residential area. So they get two things, different as in the United States, where you put only the highway underground, and I would say 50% is still concrete on top of it. So it's not all green space. And you have a terrific transportation system where Stuttgart is, the train stops but can go through, basically. And it's a huge project, interesting. Here and there, as an advice when you should travel, is travel now because they finished the project, and what they do is they have a museum and they show the architecture, the technology which they invent to do this project, because that's an inner project, as you know, in the Big Dig was marvelous, interesting for me. So this to say the similarities of the cities, but now a little bit different. And from now on, I don't want to go so much on modern architecture, only at the end in Berlin. I could come back to modern architecture. Is the red thread through my talk are castles. And my question to you, I have only one question to you. How many castles are in Germany? And who is number one?
France.
And it's
France.
France, very good. It's better than Germany, yes, but it's not the number one. So choose another. Oh, I have, by the way, next to me, virtually, Rick Steves next to me as a competition, and his favorite country would fit there where the most castles is. So he's on my lane.
I was in Scotland.
That was I think number 8 or so. Spain is, I have it on my list because it's so big. No, it's Italy. And it's staggering. So I didn't ask, if you didn't see the numbers. So how many castles are in Germany? This is, sorry, it's the second question. So I forgot how many castles do you think are in Germany? I will mention today only 10 maybe. And that's a small fraction. It's 300 upwards, way upwards. It's 25,000. Yeah. So I have the ranking. So you see, also upwards ranking. Italy is number 1 here on the bottom, and then it goes up. France, very good, number 2, and then we have Spain, number 7, and Scotland is unfortunately not even mentioned. It's on the list, so I have references to this from where I have this. So, but it's really staggering. So 25,000, I thought 20,000, but no, 25,000 castles. And I can tell you also this at the end of the day of my speech. For Germany, as the only country, this is not enough. They built a castle, a new castle. So, how they are distributed, I have here a map which strikes a little bit slightly the surface, but I guide you in the right direction, I hope. And particularly in this area, as you can see, there's the most dense castles. Yeah, in this area. This is the Rhine Valley, which is one of the most beautiful places in Germany, I would say. And so I dive you in it virtually, and virtually I dive you. I have a movie, one of the few movies which I have here in my presentation. So we are going back to Stuttgart. We were there, and for Stuttgart, they have not only one castle, of course, they have two, and I said even 2.5 castles, arrogantly, if I would be a person from Stuttgart. So this is only one castle. That's the old castle. And at one of my second last trip, which was at Christmas, I was in Stuttgart, and coincidentally, although I'm very favorable for castles, I didn't recognize that I was in front of a castle, and it was a new castle, and this was here. This was a Christkindlmarkt in December, and my aunt showed me then here the roof decoration of the booths, basically, sheds. And then on the other side, I turned around. This is the back side, and the front side is here, the back side of the new castle, which you see behind the big wheel. This is exactly the new castle. So I took this as a person. This is the horse, basically, is the symbol of Stuttgart, and they had a model train in front of the old castle, new castle. The new old castle is built as a water castle in the 11th century. The new castle is built in the 18th century, just in the right time frame. So this looks good, but what I do also in my last trips is to visit the dark time of Germany. And I visit with my aunt. I'm very thankful for her. I would never know that Hotel Silver would be such a dark building. It was a hotel at one point, and it was also the Gestapo headquarters of Stuttgart. One of, I would say, best I saw maybe in the last year, 10 different Gestapo entities from concentration camps to headquarters. And I would say this museum was one of the best moderated. We got a tour from the director and her assistant, so best place. To understand this, what it meant, the man which you see here in the hallway, left and right were officers from the Gestapo. The black one portrayed the perpetrator, and the white ones all faces the victims of the place. What I found also very significant is the heads and the people here on the left-hand side. And you can see on the this part how small the police station was. It was a police station from the 1920s on in the Weimar Republic. So these were the employees. You can count this probably 20 employees in the 1920s. I have difficulties here with my mouse. And then you have from 1933. 3 different groups and totally expansion of the police station, police force in it. And what we learned also, what was not known to me is, also I thought always that I know a lot about the Nazi time and always involved in it, that it was voluntarily, so many people went in 1941. So the real Second World War started in 1941, basically. could voluntarily serve on the East Front and do their bad work, thinking that they were only for a short time and didn't brought their wives with them. So there were many single men which went out, and they were then horrible in their actions, of course, what we know. So that was the difference as we go. So from the horrible times, thanks to Bob, that he gave me an order, also kind of order, but that there are some relatives nearby. I made a loop, and so one of the beautiful governmental town halls which I ever saw, located in a cloister. So you have the religious organization, Catholic Church, connected with the government. The government is a tenant of the church. So a very scurril mixture, but nevertheless, what you see here on the upper level, the whole building is the town hall, and on the other side was the marriage hall, and then this was the inner courtyard of the cloister. So the cloister is a large entity. You might see, not here, I've photographed it. The cloister you see Schöntal. This is a cloister and it's very beautiful laid out. Would be too long to show all the pictures of it. What I remember very vividly, if you visit it, it has a lot of hiking trails and ways to spend their days or weeks even. I was looking for graves with my last name, found them also, and found also this castle. This castle, whoever is German gets beaten up with the stories of Götz the Berlichingen, von Berlichingen. This is basically the Robin Hood of Germany, so who supports the poor people and fight for them. The story is, of course, as usual, twisted. Nevertheless, suddenly I was staying in an Airbnb, and the lady said, "Oh, there's the Götzburg." I said, "What? Götz von Berlichingen?" And so I said, and I missed it. I passed by, I missed it, and I drove back and I saw it. So here's that's the Vorwerk, basic, also a Vorwerk, we called it, and a house which supports the castle itself. As you can see, I visited as in Christmas times. They've labeled all the windows with the calendar, like a calendar booth, very cute. And then here's the castle. I was totally enthusiastic. Thrive classical castle, and then I missed another time. Across the street was the other castle. We had two castles across the street, but I could not go in. So here I smuggled myself into the castle, but wonderful that I really could realize my childhood dreams or fantasies. On my last on this trip, that was in fall, I cried twice. One time in Berlin, when I saw old playgrounds which I visit with my son, and the other one was a city which I never visited before, Möckenmühl. It was a wall-surrounded city with a castle and these timber glazed houses, which you see below. A beautiful assembling. Luckily, the city could not grow, didn't grow much, and was totally intact. So it was a beautiful site. I never saw this city before. That was a small loop in new land, tracing back gravestone of the Volks or thereof relatives of it. From what I traveled a lot, and that's probably maybe the second or third most famous castle. How do I do this? No, I cannot. So you will recognize, maybe you recognize it immediately. Somebody recognize this castle? It's Hanover. No, Heidelberg. Hanover, I think it's intact, so it's not a ruin, and it's a very unusual. Also, no blame to anybody because it's a very unusual viewpoint. The viewpoint which are world famous is this one, the front view of it. Here, I will stress a little bit the. So how does this? So first of all, my personal story with this is my great-grandfather lived on Schlossberg 17 and 11. 17 was a big mansion, 11 was then a smaller house because he lost a lot of money, could just sell it in Weimar Republic after the Second World War and moved to a smaller house on the way to the castle. So, so every stone of this city is attached to my family. And right now, even I'm so fanatic, I bring a furniture from his estate to United States. For you, I have here a game, also not a game, a visual, and I hope the internet will work. Is anybody? So let's see if this works. And this is the castle, how it was constructed, and they did it with computer animation. Maybe see, oh yeah, I get here internet, okay, and we can play a little bit, just a couple of seconds, and we can see how. Also, I have for everything I have reference. I have 10 pages reference, which I'm happy to send you. So you can computer generate the castle back in its original structure with this website, thanks to modern technology. One part of what I have, of course, a message to tell, and maybe it comes already a little bit through that. As you can see here, the charm is off, no? And with the old castle, with the old view of castle, the charm is on. That's a romantic picture. The other one, well, it can be there, but it's not the real thing. I come back to it many times, also sometimes today. So we visit. So I have still relatives around, and only to show you what is possible. And there is a stretch in Germany up to the Rhine River, which is called Bergstraße or Weinstraße. There is a flat Rhine Valley where on one hand side the Pfalz, the Vogesen are starting, and on the other side is the Odenwald with Heidelberger Castle, for example. Heidelberger Castle is a cross point of this hill upside where you can overlook the this valley, the flat valley to the Rhine, and the Neckar, which flows through. And so I know there are many castles, but I'm not so familiar with all of them, of course. And I mentioned we had 3 hours, 4 hours time with my wife. I said, let's go to the hillside, and we will find a castle, and planless. No? So we had no plan, and I said, well, Dossenheim, maybe try this village. We will find a castle, and we found a castle. So, and we found the castle of Dossenheim, and it's now I learned also they have a 1200-year history. This is amazing. 1200-year history. They celebrated this. No? Small village, and this is a farmhouse, former farmhouse. And here you see why I wanted to go to any of the castles is the viewpoint through the valley. And here you see they're a little bit more. So you see the wall there, but it's of course rebuilt. And here some ruins of the castle. The castle was a little bit. There's a little bit more to see, but it was definitely a ruin. Basically, it was a beautiful castle with also 1200 years history. So There, in this area, you can try anything what you want. But to say up front, also maybe you saw the slide already, one city you should prevent when you want to see something different. And this is why you travel. This is the reason why we travel. We want to see something different, and this is this city. This city is in its outlook similar to any American city, so don't bother to go there. But it's only unique in Germany, and this is Frankfurt. Frankfurt am Main. So I put. This is probably the only romantic picture which you can do also in the city, which were destroyed, not extremely heavy, but that's also Frankfurt, yes. But it's probably the only location where you can make this picture, otherwise it's impossible. We had to take it because the Frankfurt airport is of course connected. I picked up my son. We wanted to go to, which I showed you also, to Cologne. And we have to change trains. The airport in Stuttgart as well as in Frankfurt are very well connected immediately with trains. So you go with a train to then to Frankfurt City, and then from Frankfurt City, regional train or anything else. But I like also to combine things, and I learned on the way there is something again with Third Reich, but a positive way. And everybody heard probably about Schindler's List. And this is exactly where Oskar Schindler lived for many years, also for 8 years, in this house. We visit the house, and if you look up his biography, it's a very sad one, I have to say. At the very end of the time, he got recognition, but he had to go to Israel and got his recognition for his doing. But it was very sad. When you visit the site, it's directly at the railroad station. It's one of the worst area in Frankfurt. So it's a very impoverished area. So where he ended his German life, at least the life which he had in Germany, there. Nevertheless, so this happened to my son also. I tried to, maybe there is a castle, that was just, it said, wake up, we drive through the most significant part of Germany. Get up and look out, and wherever you look, you will see a castle. And this is the point. This is the Rhine Valley, which you can travel, of course, with trains. It goes on both sides with trains. In my childhood, and this was the difficulties to put it here so together, is we traveled always from top to bottom, to my grandparents. Now we travel from the bottom to top. What most people do, and what I can recommend still a little bit, because you will see pictures which will soon not anymore possible, is ship tour. So they have boat tours where you can go with boat, exactly the same tour up and down. I think you particularly did this, and it's a beautiful thing. They had to let you only out, because there is not only castles to see, castles to climb, but also beautiful places. Everything, I think the whole valley is almost world cultural heritage sites. So we can try it again with the next slide. It starts from Cologne and goes down then to the Rhine Valley, shows basically very significant parts of it. Is this visible for? Yeah. 3.5 minutes, not so much. And it shows also the Lorelei. Lorelei is a rock formation which goes where the Rhine River has to wind around almost 180 degrees backwards. And of course, in the history, a lot of ship accidents happened in this part, and they describe it besides all the castles along the side. So the story is basically a wonderful blonde woman sings songs and confuse the shipment words to go along with the third, and stranded, and so they have to capture this lady, and she never come back and sang the beautiful songs again. So this, as you can see, I stop it, or is it? It explains a little bit. There are many movies out, but I wanted to show it that this is available. You can virtually basically fly over this part. This is the Lorelei part. And then a couple of villages which they show. That's the Lorelei area, the rock formation. Naja, also, should I, or is it, I don't know, naja. Just only to have a three-dimensional impression of the valley. Probably the Rhine needed a long time to get through it, and the flat area which I showed you before was a big lake. And then the Rhine got released basically through this rock formation and then got his way through it. So that's the history of it. When you come from the bottom, then you pass basically the you go down the river, how it flows. So the needle point is this part, which also very famous, the Castle Kaup. We called it also Mäuseturm. And you can imagine for what is this used. This is a romantic picture, 100 years old. With the Castle Kaup, and the entity here in the middle of the Rhine River called die Pfalz im Rhein. And it's definitely never used as a living entity, but used to get money, no? to get the tax from all the shipping companies, and all the castles also were knight castles, so knights which make money from the river and the trade. What is also interesting is this is again 100 years old. The Rhine River is full of water, and the more modern picture looks like this. So hurry up, get a boat, and go down the Rhine River.
Is Munich on the river now? Is Munich on the river?
No, it's Isar. No, it's on the Isar. And the Isar goes to the Donau, I think. Yeah, Isar. Yeah. No, the Rhine River is. So it's the Rhine, and they had 2 years ago, I think, very difficulties. The Rhine River is still a major transport for coal for the chemical industry in Ludwigshafen, for example. They had for 2 weeks or 3 weeks completely stop. The Rhine, the water level was so low that the commercial shipping part could not flow. So I mean, the time is ending here. This unfortunately. So here we are. A couple of castles. This is Gutenfels. Just behind Kaup, kommt Gutenfels. Then as a complete ruin again, kind of romantic and nice. Then we have here Rheinstein by night. And then in my selection of castles and how I want to present castles, I show you now again maybe the original castle. This is Rheinfels. I don't have the Rheinfels of today, but you can. It's destroyed as a ruin nowadays, existent, but it's kind of non-romantic, I would say. No? So it's I like ruins, basically. It comes down. So I have as the I wrote down only the four places. Many of them, no, all of them, I visited in my lifetime. And Oberwesel is the nicest one. This is Bacharach. All look similar, beautiful, intact. Some of them with the original Oberwesel has an intact wall around it. It's walkable. You leave your car somewhere and you walk only and have beautiful places. But you have to get out from the boat, so they have to permit. And I think boats tours do this. No? They leave you time enough to. So make sure that you have some time there to live, to get. So, and then we have Stolzenfels, Burg Stolzenfels, before I end this Rhine Valley. It's a beautiful castle. I made 3, that's an aerial from the above. That was a pride, and you can see soon why was it one of the biggest castles. It was several times destroyed and rebuilt because that was the border to Prussia. So now we enter basically old Prussia, which I also here with this image. You see then the Rhine is then flattened, so the hilly side is over, and we go then to the Rhineland, what we said then, Rhineland, Bonn, Cologne, Düsseldorf, and all these features back. So yeah, back to Prussia. The expansion of Prussia, here not fully, because that's a map of 1800. I didn't want to bring another similar map out. But yes, that was Prussia, and here you see then eventually how Prussia was enlarged, particularly 1920, after this First World War. We lost some areas, Alsace-Lothringen, for example, Elmeni, and then the re-establishing of Poland, basically. But Rhineland was a part of Prussia. And then Bavaria, an own entity. So the next city, I would not mention at all if there would be not one man in history. Bonn has no place on Earth. Also not on Earth, yes, because of Beethoven. He stands there, yes. But not on the world map. But everybody knows Bonn was the capital of Germany. Why? It's still a selfish decision made by one man. Because Cologne was destroyed. And who was the ruler? The first ruler after the Second World War was Konrad Adenauer. He was a mayor in the Weimar Republic of Cologne. And he decided, well, he didn't want to leave far away. Why not Bonn? A small, quiet village. We take it as a governmental seat. And so he did. A beautiful city, no question, Baroque. In particular, you can make advantage of this if you study there. Because you study not in a normal house, you study in the castle, of course. No? And so you have here the main castle by night, and then the castle at daytime. And you make lunch in the park of the castle. It's not so bad. So for studying, quite good. Bright and nice. I didn't made it there, so as you can see, also didn't made it there to live there or to visit it extensively. But what I visited was my second apprenticeship I made in a refinery. And I always said, oh, the refinery was made out of brick. And it was one of the best education which I got because we were only 6 students. And I said always, I made an apprenticeship in an Hermann Göring Werke. Hermann Göring was the second man in the Third Reich. I was not so very far off, but now I learned that I was a little bit wrong. So this is a refinery. This is just the power plant of the refinery. I was so amazed and about being there because I saw that the refineries, and I'm not talking about this refinery, this city, Wesseling, nobody knows, who cares, had 3 refineries, Shell, RWE, and this one. But this one was very special. This is a photo from 1954, and it was built 1937 as a hydria company who hydrogenated brown coal, the worst material which you can think of, into gasoline. And there was this BRA AG, no? Braunkohle Benzin AG, his company, which were several of these companies, one company in Salzgitter called Hermann Göring Werke. So this existed, but not this company. But this company was the biggest gasoline producing company in the Third Reich. It produced 1941, 220,000 tons gasoline in 1 year. It's the largest out of brown coal, out of something. And at the end of the talk, I come back to the brown coal area, which becomes a political battlefield nowadays. So quite interesting, I think, fascinating how big this this had 2,000 employees, an own power plant, an own city basically in it. And I was fascinated, I'm still today fascinated by this kind of industrial production. What I want to say with this one is what fascinates me, and as a German, I don't appreciate this much, but as when I see this with the eyes of an American, what kind of people are these? 80 million people who check 500 million people at one time, lock them up in a crucial war. What kind of people are these? Now, it would be fascinating for me as an outsider to investigate this kind of country and to investigate this kind of people. No? And when this kind of company is for me the epic of this doing. Fischer Tropsch made this, engineered basically the production of gasoline. Only 15 years earlier, found it out. Haber-Bosch, for example, which we appreciate or not, no? Yeah, also on both sides, produced the most important chemical reaction of humankind, the synthesis of ammonia. We would not sit here if this would not had happened. The human race would be otherwise. But on the other hand, you have this kind of war. And when I said, so here I spent most of my time, 13 years, in Cologne, as you can maybe recognize from the Cologne Cathedral. I introduce myself always, I come not from a destroyed city, I come from a pulverized city. The city was pulverized. It was so close at the west border that the American, and particularly the British, I have to say, the American bombarded more the industrial areas, the British more the residential areas, was totally flat. There are some theories over why the cathedral was still standing, probably as a landing landmark to drop their bombs. Nevertheless, here you can see maybe better images of the city. Of course, now everything rebuilt. And since it is so dark, I come now to a more brighter area of life nowadays. And this is the Carnival. Not Fasching. Fasching is in Bavaria. They call it Fasching. No, we call it Carnival. And the 5th season. You know only 4 seasons. No, Cologne has the 5th season, which is the Carnival season. It starts on November 11 at 11 o'clock, 11 minutes, and ended then at I think the last Wednesday in February. So Yeah, and here I was with my children, and these are friends of mine. Yeah, and it's when you grow up in this kind of things, you don't appreciate this. Then I went to, of course, the carnival on earth, which is the most famous one, to Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, danced in the Sambodromo, and came back, running back to my carnival in Cologne. That was a much nicer one. As you can see, they have joy, make carnival great again. So I think this is a common agreement. And otherwise, we had great times. It's a marvelous celebration. Even my son, which is very reluctant, said by all this celebration that at one point he felt like a German. And that's the outcome of it. So the people, rich people, what I said with the GDP, beg for Kamellen, this word you need to learn, because otherwise you don't get one. And this is all the Kamellen bags, full of bags. And this is only now the outcome out of an Fädelzug, which we call Fädelzug, Zoch also, which is held in the suburbs of Cologne. So I'm not talking about the big Monday celebration in the center of Cologne. So this is definitely something which I think outstands, completely compare, again, sorry for my, the Oktoberfest in Munich. Forget this one, go there. So, and this is a competition town, city, Düsseldorf. The biggest one is, also of course, both have carnivals. The carnival comes out of the Catholic Church, basically. So the Düsseldorf is more Protestantic. It's a completely different. It's a more residential city with a castle, of course, in it, but it's also the capital of North Rhine-Westphalia, the largest state in Germany. Beautiful. I grew up the first 10 years. My mother worked in this building, which we were standing in before here. So here you see it also on this corner, exactly, for probably 5 years. We visited, this is Königsallee, a stripping mall basically, but we have shops. And then I saw modern architecture on the left-hand side, which also Cologne can give. I have here another picture of the modern architecture. The lower part is a picture, a classical picture of the old Düsseldorf, which I know of. So, and now I want to make a loop to you, with you, to Hamburg. Hamburg has, the personal essence is that my sister lives there. And she precisely hated Hamburg, and she lived outside of Hamburg and loved it. And she said only with her dead body, she will live there at the end of her life. Unfortunately, she passed away there. And she lived in Altona. Or better to say, between both. So Hamburg, as you know, was always a rich city. You can see it already on the map, very good fortified. And then you have Altona, and maybe here on top some Festung. I don't remember to find any castles, so I'm still striving for castles, and I looked it up now. Yes, Hamburg had 3 castles, and they got very early destroyed. So the first one got destroyed even by the Vikings, no? And then and so on. So that's so Hamburg had castles. Nowadays, you can still see Hamburg by its parameter. Not today, unfortunately. This is a map from around 1920, before the Second World War, As you might know, everybody talks about Dresden firestorm, but Hamburg had also a firestorm in the Second World War, so that was quite destroyed. But what is interesting is it's not Hamburg itself. It's of course an interesting city, but the land between two cities, Altona. Whenever I go with a train, it's called Hamburg-Altona. And Altona, I remember this always, Hamburg was only a side city or so. The train ended in Altona. And Altona was apparently at one time Danish area. Danish. So then we have a different country and Hamburg as a rich country, so military. And between you have a no man's land, a land which cannot be used. Or nobody used it because it's a shooting line. No? And what do they use? It was unoccupied for many years. They use it for rape. The long rope for ships, to make ships. And what came out of it? So it was wasteland, basically wasteland between the both. And what came out of it is one of the most interesting areas in Hamburg, where life is, and this is called St. Pauli. So nowadays you can get St. Pauli girl as a beer. In this pub there, my sister was probably also active in it. And so what Hamburg has, as they don't have graffiti, they don't have the time for graffiti even. They put stickers everywhere. And my sister was quite good in street art. Nowadays, I saw the newest advertisement, they make even tours for street arts. No? And of course, the Reeperbahn at night, red light district. So, but that didn't help me to find a castle, but I found it eventually. And it's this one, this picture. This picture is from, it's also not new, it's from 1964. And what they did, they found the castle, it's called the Bischof Castle, because apparently Otto the Great, in the years around 1000, took the Pope and built a castle for him alone to have him in exile. So before Avignon was utilized. So that's quite, what struck me with this photo was when you imagine 1964 in a completely firestorm destroyed city, 20 years after the war, that they pay so much attention to this excavation of this tower, no? And Greenland, parkland, no? And not to utilize it. Nowadays, they build over it because the real estate market is so high. It's some difference. So, but until '64, they took care about excavation. And here is the first castle of Hamburg, completely destroyed, but as an excavation point, nevertheless, it was there. I could say more about this, but so I made a small loop, another loop recently to Blankenburg. Just only one picture of this, another castle where I celebrated Christkindl market. So one beautiful Christkindl market while I was visiting my cousin, and it was held in the castle itself, in the inner courtyard. And this belongs also to the castle. It was around, way around, and very well visited. Everywhere you could drink alcohol without being arrested, and free society. No drunken people can go civilized, no? As we practice here. So, and now I come eventually to Berlin. But I know that some people, or Ivy did mentioned food, and I hear my foodie pictures. Schwäbische Küche, this picture is also made in Schwabenland, that means Stuttgart, Baden-Württemberg, this is called Schwabenland. But I have in my hands my favorite meal, which is Döner kebab. And in Berlin, I saw a Berlin Boston cream. How is this one? For €1.29. So it's basically a Boston cream with a white chocolate on top of it. I never saw it before. I will scratch a little bit Berlin, and I show you only 3 castles. And the first castle is a very romantic one, which were built novel as a ruin. Now, so not as a full castle, but as you can see, and I tested here with 2 images, it's never to be destroyed. It was built like this, and for a mattress of Friedrich I in 1794. It is located on an island, it's called Pfauen Island, a Pfauen for peacock, and nowadays also peacock runs around. And then hint for David, also there should be also a horticulture place, because it was kind of the private zoo of the king. Well, and then after, so here the private zoo and the botanic garden there, and there are many more buildings on the island. So it's unfortunately not so romantic as I showed it here. But nowadays, the wild animals are of course gone, also the artificial zoo animals, but the peacocks are still there. So it's still a touristic spot. It was so touristic when it was held as a zoo that the king or Kaiser later was funneled the visitors only for 2 days a week. No? But he was really free to show this, at least to the public. After the mattress died, of course, this property was forgotten, not quite, but because it was written over to a chemist. And here it gets really to my nerve, good nerve, because I'm a chemist, Kunkel. And Kunkel was an alchemist, and he developed in this island the red porcelain and red glass, the red color in stone. So, but where is my castle, my personal castle, is this one, and this is just the back side of it. And it's of course not my castle, but I have an apartment not very far away from it, and this I can guide you through it. And this is exactly when I step out of my house. My castle is this window, which you can see here. In top of it, it's a single window there. A small apartment. When you step out of the house through the front house, because it's a back house, then you see this picture which you have above, and this is the park area of the Charlottenburger Castle. This kind of castle you get when you are wife of a Kaiser. No? So the other castle which you saw only when you are in a mattress, then okay, then you get a smaller one. This you get when you are wife, and Charlottenburg Castle. Charlottenburg was the wife of the Friedrich King III. And he built then also a whole city around it. Charlottenburg is also a city. Also here I have the picture when you step out of the house. Also kind of interesting how the time shifted. In Berlin you have front house, first, second back house, second back house, third back house, fourth, up to 7 back houses. No? So you have back courtyards which are very small. The prominent people lived in the front house. The poor people in the back houses. Nowadays, I'm quite happy in my back house because it's so quiet. The front house is so noisy. You have the cobblestones, and they are quite noisy. So time can shift in quality of life, basically. So the last castle which you want to introduce is this one. And this is, again, always at the time zero, 1945, when Berlin got the most bombs of any German city, but since it is so large, it's almost larger or similar size of the Ruhr Valley, it was not so intense demolished. So the castle was relatively intact, I would say. But nevertheless, the socialist government flattened it completely, raised it completely to the almost last stone. The picture, when you remember the first castle in Hamburg, that was almost the picture of the demolition of this castle. So it was zero. And since many, here I would like to have it rebuilt with you in 1.5 minutes. There's a time-lapse movie on YouTube. I found it. Maybe can. It's 1 billion. Also, I like always to say some price tag to it. It's $1 billion euros. Sorry, 1 billion euros for totally rebuilding this castle, which called now Humboldt Forum. And they struggled a little bit, of course, not only because of the cost, but who is paying for this. The German government was a little bit reluctant, but then in favor, and as more money they got for it, as more the government took in, and then established basically an almost identical replica of the castle. I think that's the only country which does it, to reproduce a castle which they don't have anymore. No? And what interesting-wise, what they sacrifice is the People Palace. The People Palace was an entertainment house from the SED, the East German government, for their people. The people loved it. They had concerts, talks, and so on. Everything in it, music, any entertainment which you can think of, for low cost, of course, as the socialists did it. And then, as you know, the reunification happened, and suddenly they found asbestos. Of course, we have to close it, demolish it. So the West did the same thing with the socialist palace, which had 2/3 of this area. Demolished it also. So the West did a similar thing as the East did. They didn't want the East, the socialist government didn't want to have anything left of the Kaiserreich. No, this castle was a part of the Kaiserreich. So the last thing is the present of the United States of America. And it was the first time, I don't know if the United States did this again, to give a population of a university, a whole university. And here you see the back side of it. And this photo I made at the American Allied Museum in Berlin. And this is, now you may feel comfortable with this kind of architecture. The Henry Ford Bau, that was the present of the United States, of which I benefited quite a lot. And it came together with a dormitory. This is a dormitory in maybe desolate conditions. But what the German did was, since it was donated, I think 1954, 59, around. It's more than 50 years old. They put it under historical landmark distriction and renovated this. And here I lived. No. not particularly in an old American building, which are on a historical landmark district, but in a newer building. And then here the air exposure, where you see the lengthy building are the American-built dormitories, and then the blocks, bigger blocks than what the German did to do this. The particular thing with this, we called it Studentendorf, student village, is it was self-organized by the students. So it was a very democratic, organized entity, up to date. So with a friend of mine, which I still have, we organized washing machines and cinemas, for example. We could determine who can go into our apartment, for example, when they would be eligible by the Studentenwerk, which is the organization who directs the students to it. So I benefit from it, and I'm very thankful for this. But not every West Berliner did this. So as you can see, this is the characteristic. As soon as the wall came down, we pushed basically the Americans out. This cartoon was done during the Vietnam War, so in 1968. So I want to thank with this definitely all you and your parents to provide tax money to beat the Nazis. Otherwise, we would speak here maybe German, but we all would sit in a prison. Thank you so much for this. I really appreciated this part, and so I hope not that I disappointed you, not to give you more details about Berlin, but I can promise here for later part, this is here my promise, to give another speech only about Berlin, but that would be a part of what I would like to cover, a little bit unusual. So anything else, the Siegessäule and the Brandenburg Gate and so on, this is, you can see it on YouTube, but you don't see tax bills, for example, electric bills and bunkers, concentration camps, prison, police, and so on. So this, I think, a really interesting part of Berlin, which not many people can see in Insider. I have the list here further. That would be another topics, how I would cover it, and also with an offer for the community to make a Berlin trip if I have enough interest there. For this reason, I put here papers out. I guess in maybe 1 year, 1.5 years, when I go to Berlin, that I would take then some people, interested people with, and see exactly these kind of things. To the Reichstag or to the Siegessäule, so you can go yourself, but not to the bunkers or to the concentration camps or Stasi. So Berlin is a very interesting mixture of social, economic discrepancy of this kind of things. Yeah, so thank you so much. I will end it like this. And I'm open for discussion. Is a couple of slides more. The question is, how does Germany develop nowadays? What happened in Germany? I have only 4 or 5 more for a discussion, involving a discussion. What can we take with us? Here, for example, I told you about the brown coal excavation, and here demonstration. As you may follow, this is an older demonstration. Hambacher Forest is a keyword for us. What happened right now is very frightening, basically, and can be taken with us. So this is a demonstration with German flags, which you never see. And this is the modern right wing in Germany. No? This is a small demonstration. I saw only 4,000 people. But nowadays we have demonstration over 1 million people against one party. And this is a little bit larger demonstration, the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin, about anti-vaccination. Also very frightening about the not recognized science in an educated society. No? And here's the political parties only. What is very frightening is the AfD, which is labeled from the government as a criminal organization, undemocratic, but they cannot be forbidden. The Germans, with their history, cannot forbid them. And the present government cannot sustain their government. And this I found very interesting because this shows you, it's a very complicated diagram basically. It shows you where the parties are. We have, as you can see, 8, 9 parties or more even, which is unheard here in this country. Kind of as more parties as better, but where do they lie? No? In which kind of position are they? And the AfD is here, conservative, yes, capitalist completely, but also, definitely not liberal. No? And so they have many attempts to overthrow the government. So that's already clear in meetings in their program that they don't fulfill the democratic, not completely the democratic way of sustaining the. And this would be the new governmental things. In Germany we have coalitions, not here in this country. Here you have one party or the other party. In Germany you have coalitions. You vote for one party, which is great, but then you don't know which with whom the party goes, who makes the government. No? And so that's kind of frightening scenario. Thank you. So can be for a discussion. So I want to blend this only in what happened in the future, what might happen. Thank you.